Hello everybody. So we're back here, continuing on with our shape builder tutorial, and we're going to continue using mostly just our simple shapes, and we're going to avoid using the pen for the next few lessons here, and we'll eventually come back to that. But eventually, so let's start out here once again, looking through the various presets that we have here. I tend to skew towards the one that give me the pixels as my base image, just because I can kind of wrap my head around that a little bit more, and I can kind of understand what it's going to be, what it's going to be like to see it. As you can see, these are all under 2,000 pixels, like in the dimension. So if you want to make something a bit bigger than that, obviously the Mac Pro, all these various things. If you want it to be a bit bigger, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and just once again use the 1920 by 1080 canvas here. I'll press create. As usual, the best thing about these vector programs is that they tend to allow us to use, shall we say, allow us to scale things up in any way we want. So if we want to make it bigger, eventually we can. And one of the great things about using these as like shapes and not strokes and various fills is that it won't mess up the proportions and stuff. So, with that being said, we're going to make some simple shapes, and we're going to start building on those shapes just to create something kind of new. Now, if you were to go to, say, for instance, a random graphic designer or logo designer, a lot of what they make are what are called badges, what are referred to as sometimes as badges. So we're going to make a couple different badges using these simple shapes here. So the most, I would say, simple way of creating a badge is starting off with a circle. So we're going to start off with a couple circles here by just creating this little, once again, hold down shift, create your circle there. I'm going to fill this, I'll take off the stroke. I'll fill this up with something, say for instance, dark blue again, and I'll just go ahead and start messing around with this. So usually what you find are circles that have like a varying degrees of length and width and stuff, or various little widths and stuff. So let's, or thicknesses rather. Once again, let's go to object, let's go to path, let's go to offset path, and we'll go ahead and make this bigger here. So we'll outsize this by 30 pixels, and we can click this little preview button and see that's a good thick line here. In this case, you may have made yours bigger. My original circle was about 379 pixels tall, so it's up to you. Now, because the bigger circle is on top, we can't use the minus front. If we use the minus front, well, looks like we can. There it is. I want to say we can use this too. Yeah, both work. Yeah. At any rate, this little exclude or the minus front will work, depending on what you did. And before I do that, though, I'm going to grab this outer circle here, this bigger circle. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger too. So object, path, offset path, and I'll make this, let's think here, maybe I'll make this 10 pixels bigger. And I'll grab this guy, the outer circle again. So we've got 1, 2, 3 circles here. And I'll once again object, path, offset path, and we'll outsize it 20 pixels. So we'll have a 30 pixel circle, and we'll have a little gap here, and we'll have a 20 pixel circle there, as far as its thickness goes, its weight. And let's try doing exclude. There it is. That's nice. All right. So we have this circle. We have this. I'm not sure if I like that. I'm going to make this down to. I'll just do another 10. So object, path, offset path, 10, and we'll just press exclude. And that's nice. Okay, that looks kind of cool. All right. So generally, when you have this little badge, you've got something that you want to call attention to in the center there. Sometimes it's a logo. Sometimes it's like a word. But what we tend to have are things that either pass in front of it or pass behind it. So if we want to have something pass behind it, the most, I would say, the general, the go-to is a sort of a starburst pattern. So let's start off by just drawing a thin rectangle off to the side. M on the keyboard, draw a little rectangle, make sure it's taller than your circle, and make it pretty thin, let's say here. And just doesn't matter necessarily how tall it is, just so long as it's taller than the circle. Select both, click on your little circle there to have that be the key object, and then go ahead and center it. Now with this right here, we can go over here to Object, And we can go to our appearance. I want to say object, transform. Appears so. Window, appearance. No, that's an object. Let's go to object, transform, and let's go ahead and just go to rotate. And we'll think about how many of these copies you want. If we make it 45 degrees, that means we'll have 1, 2, and I want to say we might have 3. We'll have like, you know, all going across. That's probably good. We can start with 45 here. I'll press copy. And then what's great about this is we can just press Control D on the keyboard and get all these there. With that done, we can just sort of select on the inside here and just unite all these guys. And with my path selected here, I can just get my little measurements. This is 479, so I'll just copy that, and I'll hit L on the keyboard, click off that L on the keyboard, and just do 479 for each value here. And with that done, I can just sort of place it on top of this by making this the key object. And we'll just center this, and we'll just minus front. All right, so we've got that going on there. With that done, let's think here. Maybe we'll make another rectangle here, or another really thin. Well, we might make it maybe a bit bigger. It's like a bit longer here, just a little bit. Not that big. Just a bit longer than the one we had before. And once again, we will center this onto our circle. And let's rotate this. It's object, rotate, transform, rotate. And I'm not going to copy it this time, but I'm going to rotate it, say, for instance, let's think here, 45 degrees divided by 2. That's 27.5? 27.5, yeah, 27.5. Let's preview that, just double check. There we go, that's good. And no, is it 45 divided by 2? 22.5. All right, Mr. Lillo is not a method error. All right, cool, press copy. That's nice. And from there, what we can do is we can do the same thing we did before, rotate this again, object, transform, rotate, and we can rotate this 45 degrees, which will pop it right between the next little line there. We can copy that. And once again, Control D a couple times. And so with that done, we'll just sort of select these on the inside here. And let's take out the one in the center. Let's get rid of that one. Let's take these guys in the center, and we'll just unite these. And once again, hit L on the keyboard. I can just make that circle there, pop it right in the center, and minus front. And let's do one more. Maybe we'll make some thin ones here. Let's think. We'll make some that are even thinner. Let's think. This right here, this little rectangle here, its width. Well, let's look here. This guy. These are all the same. It's fine. We'll just make it. We'll make it as thin as we possibly can. So we'll make it a little bit shorter too. Just shorter than the, longer than the circle, shorter than the lines, and very tiny. And we'll just grab this, center this here. This is not quite tall enough. I'm going to hold down, I'm going to get real close. I'm going to hold down the Alt key while I pull this outwards here. Be on the keyboard, hold on the Alt key. Drag it down like that. And we'll rotate it. Object. Let's think here. So we've got 22.5 degrees here. So if we divide that by, say, for instance, 5. Let's do some math here. Object, transform, rotate, and let's do 22.5 divided by, I want to see maybe like 5 in between each one, divided by 5, and let's preview that. 4.5 degrees. I'm not sure if that's what I'm looking for. Here we go, that's good. Okay, cool. And I'll press OK. And we'll just Control D, whoops, make sure we do a copy of this. Object, transform, rotate, and we'll copy it this time. And then we'll just Control D a couple times. Control D all across here until it goes across the entire thing. That's cool. And then now this is going to be kind of tricky here just to select everything on the inside. So I'll just get it real close and just sort of hover my mouse over one of the white spaces and just draw a little square through the center there. Now all that stuff is taken care of. I'll just unite that. And I'll bring back the old trusty ellipse that we had before. Center it here. And minus front. Cool, so we got ourselves a little badge going on here. This is kind of fun. All right, so let's go ahead and just unite all this. Now, even though we united this, it's still what we call a compound path. It works in many ways like a group. So if we were to say, for instance, take a little shape here, want to cut out a shape from these two, it would treat as if they were all on separate layers. So for instance, minusing front takes away several bits of the different areas here, even though it's supposed to be a united thing. So that's why we have to be a little careful about this. So I'm going to be employing a few things here just to make this work a little bit. Let's do this. Let's create a rectangle here. I'm going to make a rectangle that's going to be, say, for instance, just a rectangle that's going to be a little bit longer than the circle itself. I'll just center this here. We'll center them both. Okay, and I might just place. Oh, that's fine. And I'll get my anchor point tool here, my direct select tool here. This is the white arrow up here. Press A on the keyboard, and I'm going to select these two corners here, and I'm going to move them up some. I wonder if I can just nudge it. I'm going to nudge it up here. I'm using the arrow key. I'm going to nudge it up until it gets a little bit past this line there. I'll do the same thing here. I'll just grab this guy here. I'll just nudge this down until he's like just about a little bit past the. I'm just eyeballing it this time here. And let's do this. Let's make a couple copies here. I'm going to Control C, Control F, and I'm going to change the color to something different. Say for instance red or pink. That's fine too, right? And we can do a couple things here. We can I want to say we can probably just grow this. No, we can't grow. We have to offset it. Let's put object offset. So path, offset path. Let's preview this. 10, that's fine. Okay, so now this is where it gets tricky because I want to create a little gap between the blue rectangle and the rest of the design, but I can't do it all at once. So I have to use my direct select tool. So let's use the direct select tool and just choose, say for instance, the inner circle here, and then we'll hold down the Shift key, and we'll hit the V on the keyboard. Hold down the Shift key, click on our outer rectangle, our big rectangle here, and then what we'll do is we'll minus front for that. So we can kind of see that going on here. Same thing with this object path, offset path, 10 pixels. There we go. And now we'll select the outer circle here. So I want to say A on the keyboard. And I think this is because these are all touching. It's going to allow us to cut the stuff out here. So we should be able to. Let's see here. Be on the keyboard. All right. So I'm gonna hold down Shift and whoops, oh, it lost touch. Oh my goodness, it lost touch with my my keyboard here. All right. Okay. Let's go to Window, Pathfinder. Minus front. All right, cool. So I can probably just get rid of that. And now we've got this little guy hanging out here, sort of giving a bit of a signal that it's sort of hanging out in front of this little design. So what we'll do now is get a little closer here, and I can just use my direct select tool just to kind of select this guy right here. Just gotta get rid of them. Get rid of these little tags that are just sort of hanging out there. Somewhat distracting. Yeah, let's go to. All right, that's neat. Okay, and then maybe the last thing we'll do is we'll add a little message on the inside. So just put your message here. I'm going to change the font to something different, maybe something like Bauhaus. That's nice. And in this case, we'll need to shear this. I don't believe we can put this on a bounding box here, so we'll have to shear this. So we'll go over here, we'll just right click on it and just do right click, transform, shear, and we want to shear it, I want to say horizontally. Oh, horizontally. Yeah. Nope, vertically. So we'll just sort of nudge this until we see it sort of lined up here. This looks like I'm spelling out the word beer. I'm going to change it to something different. Okay. So whatever you want to put in the middle there, you can put in the middle there. This looks about right, and I'll just sort of click on this, and we'll just minus front. Actually, we can't do that yet. We have to go over here. We have to go to type, and then we have to create outlines, and then we can minus front here. There we go. Cool. All right. So this is one example of a shape we can do, and then once again, we'll just select everything, and we'll unite the whole thing. So this it'll treat it as it's a compound path. So if we were to draw, say for instance, a really big circle over here, and we can just grab this guy and we can kind of move him to the center. Let's actually alt drag it to the center, and then we can just exclude, and there it is. Cool. All right. So that's it. So that's a very simple form of a badge. Now you could always add more to it on the inside. You could add more little epaulets and stuff like that, maybe so sort of parts that are hanging off and stuff. Well, we're gonna do more like this, but this is one example of creating a simple badge using some simple tools, especially using the shape builder tool there, right? So this right here, where we'll go ahead and call this done, and we'll kind of move on from here. All right, so neat. Can't wait to see you guys produce.